of yours, humbler than a blade of grass, giving me strength to bear all trials and troubles. Make me devoid of all desires for personal honor. O Lord and Master, please give me the power to properly honor all living beings. Only then will I sing the holy name in great ecstasy, and all my offenses cease. O Lord and Master, when will this devotee, obtaining your mercy, become blessed? Devoid of all strength and intelligence, I am very low and fallen. Please make me your own servant. Upon examining my value, I find that I have none. Your mercy is essential to me. Therefore, if you are not merciful, I will constantly weep and will not maintain my life any longer. Gurudev, Jap. Gurudev, Kripa Bindu Diya, Koroe Dase, Shrina Pekarati Hina. Kavito gaibo harinama suke aparada vihata. Kavino kripa lavai jano Katha Nata. Shakti Buddhi Ami Ati Goramore Agasaka. Yogyata vichare kichu nahi pai tomara karuna sara. Karuna na koile gandiya kandiya prana nara. Gurudev, Kripa Bindu Diya, Koroe Dase, Shrina Pekarati Hina. Jivanam. Translation. Shall we say together? My life is always engaged in sinful activities, without a trace of pious activities. I'm always inclined to give great anxiety and trouble to other living entities. For my personal sense gratification, I never reject any kind of sinful activity. I'm not at all merciful, and I see only to my personal interest. When others are suffering, I become very happy. I'm always speaking lies, and if someone is suffering, that is very pleasant to me. I have lots of material desires within my heart, and I'm always angry and deceitful. I'm captivated by subject matters of sense gratification, and I'm almost crazy. My ornaments are malice and false pride. I'm conquered by sleep and laziness, and I'm always averse to pious activities. But I am very enthusiastic to perform impious activities. I always cheat others for my prestige. I'm conquered by greed, and I'm always lusty. I am so fallen, I have no association with devotees, and I'm always an offender. In my life, there is not a bit of auspicious activity, and my mind is always attracted by something mischievous. Therefore, at the fag end of my life, I have become almost an invalid because of all such sufferings. Now in my old age, with no alternative, I have by force become very humble and meek. Thus Bhaktivinoda offers this sad statement of his life's activities that the lotus made of this great Lord.
Amar jivana sadabhati rasa nahi ko punyera lesha
let's look at the first 11 verses of the Prahlad Maharaj's prayers. We maybe sit. We'll do the Sanskrit and the English, meaning each one Sanskrit and English, then move to the next. Ashtoshit Dharani Bhadra Manasa Susamahita Prema Gadgadaya Vacha Kanyastya Hridayekshana. Prahlad Maharaj fixed his mind and sight upon Lord Nrsimhadev with full attention, in complete trance. With a fixed mind, he began to offer prayers in love with a faltering voice. Shri Paraduvacha Brahma Namuniyota Siddha Sadvaikatana Katayo Vacha Samprabhai Naraditum Buruto Naradunati Pipru Kim Toshnumadhate Same Harirugrajate. Prahlad Maharaj prayed, how is it possible for me, who have been born in a family of asuras, to offer prayers to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Even until now, all the demigods headed by Lord Brahma and all the saintly persons could not satisfy the Lord by streams of excellent words, although such persons are very qualified, being in the mode of goodness. Then what is to be said of me? I am not at all qualified. Manye danapi jana rupa tapashutaujas teja prabhava balapaurisha buddhi yoga naradanaya hi bhavanti parasya pumso bhaktya tutosha bhagavan rajayutapaya. Prahlad Maharaj continued, one may possess wealth, an aristocratic family, beauty, austerity, education, sensory expertise, luster, influence, physical strength, diligence, intelligence, and mystic yogic power. But I think that even by all these qualifications, one cannot satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. However, one can satisfy the Lord simply by devotional service. Gajendra did this, and thus the Lord was satisfied with him. Viprad vishadguna yutada davindanabha padaravinda vimukashrapa chambavishtam manyeta darpita mano vachane hitartha pranam punati sakulam nataburimana. If a Brahmana has all 12 of the Brahminical qualifications, as they are stated in the book called Sanat Sujata, but is not a devotee and is averse to the lotus feet of the Lord, he is certainly lower than a devotee who is a dog-eater, but who has dedicated everything, mind, words, activities, wealth, and life, to the Supreme Lord. Such a devotee is better than such a Brahmana, because the devotee can purify his whole family, whereas the so-called Brahmana in a position of false prestige cannot purify even himself. Naivatmana prabhudayam nijalabha purno manam janada vidusha karuno vrenite yad yad jano bhagavate vidati tamanam Tachchamane pratimukasya yata mukashri. The Supreme Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is always fully satisfied in himself. Therefore, when something is offered to him, the offering by the Lord's mercy is for the benefit of the devotee. For the Lord does not need service from anyone. To give an example, if one's face is decorated, the reflection of one's face in a mirror is always seen to be decorated. Tasmadaham vigata viklapa ishvarasya sarvatmana mahigranami yatamanisham nicho jaya guna visargamanu pravishta huyeta yena hipumannanuvarnitena. Therefore, although I was born in a demoniac family, I may without a doubt offer prayers to the Lord with full endeavor, as far as my intelligence allows. Anyone who has been forced by ignorance to enter the material world may be purified of material life if he offers prayers to the Lord and hears the Lord's glories. Sarve hyami vidikarastava satvadamno Ramadayo vayami veshana chodvadanta Shemaya bhutaya utatma sukhaya chasya Vikreditam bhagavato ruchiravataraye. O my Lord, all the demigods headed by Lord Brahma are sincere servants of your Lordship, who are situated in a transcendental position. Therefore they are not like us, Prahlad and his father, the demon Hiranyakashipu. Your appearance in this fearsome form is your pastime for your own pleasure. Such an incarnation is always meant for the protection and improvement of the universe. Tad yatshamanyum asarascha hatastvadhyadya modeta sadurapi vrishchika sarpahatya lokashta nivritimita pratiyanti sarve rupam nrsinga bhavayaya jadasmaranti. My Lord Nrsingadev, please therefore cease your anger now that my father, the great demon Hiranyakashipu, has been killed. Since even saintly persons take pleasure in the killing of a scorpion or a snake, all the worlds have achieved great satisfaction because of the death of this demon. Now they are confident of their happiness, and they will always remember your auspicious incarnation in order to be free from fear. Naham bhimya jitate tapayana kasya jivarka netra brukati rabasogradam strat antra shraja shratajake shankhu karnan nihrada bhita digibad aribindakagrat. My Lord, who are never conquered by anyone, I am certainly not afraid of your ferocious mouth and tongue, your eyes bright like the sun, or your frowning eyebrows. I do not fear your sharp pinching teeth, your garland of intestines, your mane soaked with blood, or your high wedge-like ears. Nor do I fear your tumultuous roaring, which makes elephants flee to distant places, or your nails, which are meant to kill your enemies. Trastosmyaham kripana vatsala dushahogra samsara chakra kadanadgrasatam pranita badha swakarma birashattama tengrimulam pritopavarga sharanam Vaisesika dhanu. O most powerful, insurmountable Lord, who are kind to the fallen souls, I have been put into the association of demons as a result of my activities, and therefore I am very much afraid of my condition of life within this material world. When will that moment come when you will call me to the shelter of your lotus feet, which are the ultimate goal for liberation from conditional life? Yasmad priya priya viyoga samyoga janma shokagnina sakala yoni shudhayamana dukaushadam tadrapi dukkam atadiyaham Bhuman Brahmami Vadame Tabadasya Yogam. O Great One, O Supreme Lord, because of combination with pleasing and displeasing circumstances, and because of separation from them, one is placed in a most regrettable position within heavenly or hellish planets, as if burning in a fire of lamentation. Although there are many remedies by which to get out of miserable life, any such remedies in the material world are more miserable than the miseries themselves. Therefore, I think that the only remedy is to engage in your service. Kindly instruct me in such service. Shri Prahlad Maharaj ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam class. Hare Krishna. Kodanitai, Kodanitai, Kodanitai.
So there are 4 or 5 people of interfaith group. They are visiting us for the class, and Bhakti community. Just keep your
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to ISKCON of Silicon Valley. If you're here for the first time, our warm welcome to you. This is a weekly class we have on the book called Srimad Bhagavatam. This is a book which is considered to be a continuation of the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is a dialogue between Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and his devotee, Arjuna. And in the dialogue, Arjuna is in a difficult situation. Has anybody here been in a difficult situation ever? Just a few of us. And his natural inclination is to surrender to Krishna. And Krishna, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, gives Arjuna a framework of knowledge by which he can understand what his duty is, and also gives to have context to understand what his purpose is in life in general. And throughout the Bhagavad Gita, there are descriptions of the makeup of the material world, and also a description of the various energies and how they're working in this world. And one of the points that Krishna makes in the Bhagavad Gita is that the material world is a lower energy from the spiritual world. There is a spiritual world that's beyond the material world. It's not created and destroyed. This world is. Our bodies are created and destroyed, and the whole material world is cyclically created and destroyed. But there is a destination beyond this material world, which is considered to be supreme. And it's always existed, it always will exist, and it's not created and destroyed when the material world is. Krishna indicates in that book, Bhagavad Gita, that our real place isn't to try to simply avoid suffering in the material world, but it's to leave the material world altogether. What's more, he points out that our real satisfaction comes from being engaged in service to God, not in simply trying to satisfy our own senses, piecemeal. At the end of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna gives the suggestion that the way that one can feel properly situated and happy is to give one's heart and soul to God. That doesn't mean that we give up any endeavor to be balanced in the material world. He also suggests that in the Gita that one should maintain oneself, go to Whole Foods or whatever you have to do, get organic broccoli, and stay healthy, breathe real air, and so forth. But he said that the main thrust of our lives should be to dedicate all our activities to God, not simply think about how can I find a convenient situation in this material world. He says there is no such place. When the Bhagavad Gita ends, Krishna gives these suggestions. He says, if you want to be happy, make this your main focus in life, surrendering to God, dedicating your activities to God. Then when the Srimad Bhagavatam starts, it points out that this book is for those who have taken up that attitude that the purpose of life is to serve God. It's not for those who want to worship God for some ulterior motive. They want something in return, or they still have an affection for the material world and would like to stay here. And the Bhagavatam, this book, also starts off by mentioning that there is a supreme cause of all causes. That is, we all come from an original source. The book says at its outset, Janmadhyasa yataha, which is a famous statement which is found elsewhere for instance, in the Brahma Sutras, codes which describe the main principles of spiritual practice and philosophy. And Janmadhyasa yataha means that everything comes from a common source. So we're all related. And the Bhagavatam is another discussion. In fact, it's discussion within a discussion within a discussion. They're nested stories within stories. And each one of them is meant to give us direction, how to live our lives in such a way that we're dedicated and dedicating everything that we have to the Supreme. Also, we may, in our sincere endeavor to serve God, have some leftover material desires. Possible, right? It's possible. So there's a definite bent in the Srimad Bhagavatam towards dissuading us from thinking that the material world is our home. For instance, there are stories about kings. Kings supposedly have everything. Everyone is at their beck and call, and they have whatever wealth they need to buy whatever they want. But we find many stories of kings, historical accounts of kings who had such facilities, but still who were unsatisfied. Imagine such a thing. We see in the modern day on YouTube where the wealthy and famous perhaps are lamenting their lot in life or end up disappointed even though they've earned the kind of money that many people think would make them happy. What to speak of fame? And you'll find images of people waving people off, it's like, get away from me, I just want to be peaceful. I don't want anybody following me around with a camera, taking a picture of my kids and things like that. It's meaning the idea of happiness in the material world is not all it's cracked up to be. In fact, it reconfirms, does the Bhagavatam, what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, that real happiness comes from dedication to Krishna, to the Supreme. So Bhagavatam plays that out in many different ways and stories, and also reveals to us what the unchanging spiritual world is like. There are some who have an idea or even a theology that says the material world is temporary, and we have relationships in the material world. So good, so far, so good. Yeah? And therefore, spiritual emancipation means nothingness. Or a homogenized conscious experience where we have no variety. There are several ideas like that. It's a result of using one's mind to try to understand God. Because the material world's temporary, and because the material world has variety, and because we have relationships in the material world, I therefore may come to the erroneous conclusion that spiritual life means the opposite of material life, which means no variety, no relationship, and no personality. Startlingly, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, no, we all have our personalities. You've always had it. You're a person now. Check and see if you're a person. Ask somebody, am I here? Yeah. Call somebody at home. It's like, do I exist? Yeah. Why are you calling me? I'm still not up yet. And the spiritual world, as it turns out, as Krishna's teaching in the Bhagavad Gita, is the reality. And the material world is a reflection of reality. And if you've ever seen a reflection of someone or something in a mirror and then mistaken it to be the real thing, the real person, then we might be disappointed when we come to know that there's the dimensions are missing. I've seen animals who were convinced that there was a competitor in front of them, and again, little squirrel smashing his cute little face into the window because he thinks there's another squirrel there who's poaching from his nuts in his area. And again, he'll bash his little squirrel head into the window, thinking, here's my competitor, but it's actually himself. And Krishna indicates such things in the Bhagavad Gita that we are seeing a reflection here in the material world. There's a way in which Plato talked about how this material world is illusory in the sense that it's a shadow-like imagery of ourselves. For instance, if you're sitting in a cave, he said, and there are fires behind you, and then you're looking at the back wall, you may see your own shadow. And he compared that to the material world, that we're only seeing a shadow-like existence here. And he said, beyond this shadow-like existence, there is reality. And the dazzling light of the spiritual world is all emanating from God himself. And the kind of relationship that we always hope for in this world, what would be the elements of a perfect relationship, would you say, in this world? Name 3 or 5, yes? This world. We'll give you a mic for free. That way everyone online can hear also.
I could say disadvantages. One would be it's temporary.
No, what would you like in a relationship? You don't want a temporary relationship here, right?
It should
I
be
hope my parents are not there when I get home.
Should be eternal.
Okay, we want a relationship that lasts. In fact, people sing about that in songs, and it's at the end of many stories, they'll say they lived happily ever after. I used to ask my parents about that, like, how does that thing work? Like they don't get old and die and stuff like that? Like, no, it's not like that. But what's another aspect of a relationship that you would like to have here in this world? What would be ideal?
No arguments.
No arguments. Okay. No arguments. Or at least, sometimes arguments can be revealing, and I guess if we argue all the time and it comes to the point of being so acrimonious that we develop some sense of aversion to the person, it could be bad. Yeah, okay. Harmonious relationship. What else? Trust. Yeah, you have trust in the person. So those are a few ideas. It's an endeavor we can notice from anybody. You can look at literature, as I mentioned. You can read lyrics of songs. You can notice your own inclination. People want to have relationship. The relationships of this world come and go. And no matter how trusting they are and how harmonious they may be, there's a way that we have them for a little while, then they go. We may have a beloved parent or grandparent or friend or lover, but then, of course, there are myriad stories about how we lose them. What was it, in the 60s or 70s, there was a popular movie. I don't think I ever saw the whole thing, but I know it was Love Story, which about sums up what everyone's looking for is love. And I think that there was the ideal couple. They got together, correct me if I'm wrong, and then one of them got cancer. And then there was the pain of imminent separation and so forth. So the Bhagavatam points out that we do have a relationship with the Supreme, with God. It's not impersonal. It is personal. And how might that look? And that's important because we need an alternative to the material world. The material world has apparently, there's a verisimilitude. Look up verisimilitude. Verisimilitude means it looks like it should be real. It has a semblance of being real, but it's not. In fact, everything in this world has a semblance of being real because it comes from the real. It's not illusion in the sense that it doesn't exist. Some people think that also. You just are imagining the material world, but it's not really there. Verisimilitude means?
Verisimilitude is a noun which means appearance of truth or reality, likelihood.
Anything more you can tell us?
It comes from verisimilitudo, which is likeness to truth, from very, which means true, and similis, like resembling of the same kind.
It's like it seemed like a good idea. It just didn't work out. That's the kind of the anthem of the material world. It seemed like a good idea. It seemed like reality. It's like, what happened? That keeps happening again and again. So we need an alternative that's not impersonal. If we have an impersonal alternative, we'll also be disappointed because when, for instance, we have a loss in our life, we lose someone we love. If someone tells us, Gesundheit. If someone tells us, bless you. If someone tells us that, help yourself, everyone, just turn on your microphone and let us know what's going on at home. Someone tells us, oh, you lost your beloved grandmother. Well, that's okay. She never existed anyway. It's not satisfying to the heart. We need more than that. We need an understanding. We know we were interacting with a person. We know there was trust. We know there was love, and then it was lost. So where can we find that? We need to have a destination, a place we can look and see that relationship and the variety of the that we're looking for. That is not a reflection. That is the reality. And that, says the Bhagavatam, is the satisfaction. It brings us satisfaction of the soul. When we're able to identify that reality, that source of everything, who's personal, God is a person, that there's no multiple gods, there's only one God, but God manifests himself in many different ways. He has multifarious energies, unlimited energies, but there is a personal God, and we have a personal relationship with that God. So the Srimad Bhagavatam says, develop that relationship. It's there already, but we've been disconnected with it. It's not that by proximity necessarily, because God's everywhere. He's within it, even within our heart, but it's by our own consciousness being diverted to an idea of us being separate from God. So the Bhagavatam seeks to bring us back, reorient us to our relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And when one becomes surcharged with a sense that my life is meant for this relationship, and begins to see that everything that's happening to me in this world is meant to bring me closer to that relationship. And then one has a sense of dedication within one's heart and begins to use one's life for that purpose. Then the Srimad Bhagavatam gives this very direct statement about how one then feels satisfied. Everyone wants to know, where will I find real satisfaction? It's not in the material world, but it's in our relationship with Krishna or God. And as I said, the Bhagavatam is a conversation. It starts off with a group of highly elevated souls who are discussing in a forest what's the greatest good one can achieve in human life, and how can people experience it for themselves. And the statement given by the spokesperson, a person who's been assigned to answer the questions, humble soul who's highly learned, his name's Sutta, So savai pumsam paro dharmo yato bhaktiradhoksaje ahaitukya apratiyata yayatma suprasidati, which means that one can experience the grace of God fully and feel satisfied in one's heart when one is fully dedicated to one's relationship with God and doesn't have any motive. I'm not asking anything in return. There's service for service. So that's also startling because one might think, well, yeah, but what about me? I need my needs fulfilled. Well, the Bhagavatam goes on to say, when you have this desire to serve God and you're able to do it without interruption, so all your desires will be fulfilled automatically. And whatever facility you need will be readily available in abundance. That's amazing. So later on, the Bhagavatam says it's very much like watering the root of a tree. If you're able to water the root, then all leaves and branches are naturally nourished. So we're parts of God, and when we worship Him with only the motivation that you're God, I'm your servant, I want to lovingly engage in service to you, and there's nobody or nothing is interrupting you from that service, then you'll, says the Bhagavatam, feel fully satisfied and you'll be nourished at the same time. In fact, the Bhagavatam gives numerous analogies to help us. Analogies are a thought bridge. You hear an analogy, this is like that, and you can immediately take a philosophical concept and then cross the bridge and say, oh yeah, I got that one. So one of the examples that a speaker in one of the nested stories in the Bhagavatam gives is that when you eat food, when you're hungry, you naturally feel nourished. Your hunger naturally goes away, and you also feel that you're getting stronger. So in a similar way, when you take up direct service to God, then you'll naturally have this sense of satisfaction. And you also will lose interest in those things that are distracting you now. The material diversions that distract us now, they'll become less interesting because we have something that actually satisfies us. And it's not a matter of restraint, but it's more a matter of I'm not interested because I'm feeling satisfied by what I'm doing. So this is just an overview of what this class is about. So the Srimad Bhagavatam, the book before me, this is one volume. There are several volumes and 18 volumes altogether. There are also 18,000 verses. Each one of them poetically rendered in Sanskrit, and they've been translated into English. And then there's commentary. The commentary, this book has been around for 5,000 years, so those who are exalted, not only scholars, but also pure devotees of God, who have passed down the teachings of Bhagavatam, have given corroboration with other scriptures. They've also given commentary to help us gain context of what each of the verses means. And so that comes along with the Srimad Bhagavatam. And when we have class on the Bhagavatam, we will typically read a verse, go over it, and then find corroboration from other parts of the scriptures. There are many scriptures describing Krishna and the process of devotional service. And also we we have discussion about our realizations from practicing ourselves, because it's helpful when we have peers and we're all following a process to understand what others are going through and what realizations they're having. That can be quite edifying. So that's a summary of what we're doing today. And first, we'll start off, it can't be first now because I already gave a whole monologue, but secondly, we'll sing a song in Sanskrit. It's a beautiful song, and it goes to this description. It's actually a description of the beauty of the spiritual world and the relationships that the devotees of God have with God in the spiritual world. And if you'll put it up on the screen, that's it. It's a simple song, but and it's in Sanskrit, but just to say that there's one God, but he has many names. And the names generally are in relationship with his loving servants. And there are many different kinds of relationships, so the names vary. So these are various names of Krishna. Let's do... Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivardhari Gopi Janna Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Prajajandaranjana Yashodanandana Prajajandaranjana Yashodanandana And now we'll repeat a mantra, which is traditional in approaching the Bhagavatam before reading it. The mantra goes like this: Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So the word Om is a word that's actually 3 letters, but there are rules in Sanskrit through which vowels get combined, called sandhi. And A-U-M is actually the 3 letters, and they represent God, and then God's internal energy, and then also the living entities, like the particles of consciousness like ourselves. Everything's contained within Om. The syllable represents or is a direct representative of the Supreme, including everything. And then Namo is an interesting expression. It means not me. Just say not me. Not me. Not me, it's you, it's not me. We're submitting ourselves, and we're saying, what do I know? I'm just here as a servant, open to the flow of mercy coming down. And Bhagavate means God. And then Vasudevaya is a very particular name of God, which means that He's everywhere, within everything, within everyone, and everything is within Him. There's nothing that's outside of Him. And this mantra in previous ages was a primary mantra that people would chant for long periods of time to focus their minds on God. The mantra, man means mind and tra means to deliver. Mantra is a powerful vibration which gives us the opportunity to utilize our senses, our tongues, vocal box, and the hearing sense in order to experience God. One may say, can you show me God? And you say, well, what do you accept as a way to experience or see Him? The Vedas say you first hear God before you see God. And so the mantra of Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya is from antiquity. Shall we try it? I'll say, please repeat. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Now in the picture we see Narayan, in the last picture we would have seen it. You can go back one. Narayan lying on the causal ocean. It's a little bigger than the Pacific or Atlantic. And Lakshmi Devi, his consort, massaging his lotus feet. And then you see sort of a ribbon-like thing coming. It's sort of an umbilical cord to the first created being of the universe called Brahma. Brahma is one who comes to assist in manifesting the material world. The material world has 2 purposes. One is for those who want to enjoy separately from God, and it also has full facility for those who want to try to come back to Him. So now we'll go to the Srimad Bhagavatam itself. And in the very first verse of the Bhagavatam, I'll read you the translation. You can thank me later. No, I'm just kidding. O my Lord, Sri Krishna, son of Vasudeva, O all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. I meditate upon Lord Sri Krishna because He is the absolute truth and the primeval cause of all causes of the creation, sustenance, and destruction of the manifested universes. He is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations, and He is independent because there is no other cause beyond Him. It is He only who first imparted the Vedic knowledge unto the heart of Brahmaji, the original living being. By Him, even the great sages and demigods are placed into illusion, as one is bewildered by the illusory representations of water seen in fire or land seen on water. Only because of him do the material universes, temporarily manifested by the reactions of the three modes of nature, appear factual, although they are unreal. I therefore meditate upon him, Lord Sri Krishna, who is eternally existent in the transcendental abode, which is forever free of the illusory representations of the material world. I meditate upon him, for he is the absolute truth. And now as I mentioned before, there's commentary that goes along with each one of these verses. So I'm going to read the first paragraph of the commentary to give a sense of how the commentaries go. Obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Vasudeva directly indicate Lord Sri Krishna, who is the divine son of Vasudeva and Devaki. This fact will be more explicitly explained in the text of this work. Sri Vyasadeva asserts herein that Sri Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, and all others are his direct or indirect plenary portions or portions of the portion. Srila Jiva Goswami has even more explicitly explained the subject matter in his Krishna Sandarbha. And Brahma, the original living being, has explained the subject of Sri Krishna substantially in his treatise known as Brahma Samhita. In the Samaveda Upanishad, it is also stated that Lord Sri Krishna is the divine son of Devaki. Therefore, in this prayer, the first proposition holds that Lord Sri Krishna is the primal Lord. And if any transcendental nomenclature is to be understood as belonging to the absolute personality of Godhead, it must be the name indicated by the word Krishna, which means the all-attractive. In Bhagavad Gita, in many places, the Lord asserts himself to be the original personality of Godhead, and this is confirmed by Arjuna and also by great sages like Narada, Vyasa, and many others. In the Padma Purana, it is also stated that out of the innumerable names of the Lord, the name of Krishna is the principal one. Vasudeva indicates the plenary portion of the personality of Godhead, and all the different forms of the Lord being identical with Vasudeva are indicated in this verse. The name Vasudeva particularly indicates the divine son of Vasudeva and Devaki. Sri Krishna is always meditated upon by the Paramahamsas, who are the perfected ones among those in the renounced order of life. There's quite a bit more commentary, but we'll go into a little more of a discussion of the meaning of this and any of the context that goes with it. First, I'd like to acknowledge and offer my respects to my spiritual master and the founder and primary teacher of this particular branch of what we call Vaishnavism, or the practice of worshiping God as a person, who is seated upon this ornate seat, which is called a Vyasa asana. Asana means a seat, and Vyasa, you heard mention of in the commentary. He's one of the great teachers of the Bhagavatam, who's acknowledged as the one who efficiently was able to pass it down through various disciples so that it's extant in human society and has been for many thousands of years and generations. And therefore, anyone who represents the knowledge of the Bhagavatam is given a seat of respect called the Vyasasana. And that's why you see the image of our founder Acharya, who passed away in 1977 after founding this organization in 1966. He's seated there as the representative. And I also offer my respects to everyone present today. You're all sincere spiritual practitioners, and therefore I honor you and I thank you very much for being here today. Hare Krishna. So a few thoughts. One is of the sense of seeing God everywhere. Because God and his energies are one and different at the same time, and because all energies come from God, there's a way in which we can see God within everything. In another scripture, it's called the Vishnu Purana, it said, Ekadesha stitasyāgnir joshna vistarani yata. That just as the sun has its emanation, which is the sunlight, And you can divide the two. You can say there's sun, and then there's the sunlight. There's two things at the same time. Or you can say they're one thing. If the sun is coming in, which I don't see it coming in that much, but there's some diffused light here, that's also sunlight coming through. That's sun, but it's separate from the sun at the same time. If the actual sun was in the room, we would be vaporized. So there's this understanding that God is everything, but he also has his own personality. And that there's variety within the oneness. This is mentioned a little further along in the Srimad Bhagavatam, that there are several features of God according to our perspective. If you're far away from a mountain range, if you've ever had this experience, I have, so I can speak about it in the sense that this has happened to me. When I first saw the mountain range from a long way away, I thought it was clouds, because the mass was seemingly amorphous. It was so far away, I just knew it was a mass. I didn't know what kind of mass it was. And sometimes clouds on the horizon can appear so solid that it seems that they're mountains. Have you ever had that? If not, let's go for a hike sometime and we'll try to discover it together. If one gets closer to a mountain range, one will start to see, correct me if I'm wrong, the various levels of the mountain, and also that it has some texture to it. There are ridges. You may even see some greenery, and it may be nondescript, or you may see some snow cover from a distance. A little more detail comes into play when you get closer. Right? And if you were to go on the mountain itself, it's a whole different experience once you actually get up there. You might find that there's animals there. You might find there's people living there and so forth on the mountain itself, and you get to know the details of the habitat, of the environment of the mountain and so forth. So the Srimad Bhagavatam says, according to our distance from God and thereafter our perspective, we may see God in different ways. It's still the same person, because there is nothing but God, but we may see from a distance and have an amorphous understanding of God, something impersonal, as I said before. But as we get closer, we may recognize God's personal effect on our lives. For instance, as in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, I'm in everyone's heart. And there's a way to directly experience how God's in everyone's heart, or is in our heart. And that is because as he's in our heart, he gives us intelligence. There's an experience many have had, stewing over a problem, pouring oneself into a project and trying to find one's way forward, and then suddenly getting some direction from one's intelligence. Have you ever had that? Jonas Salk, who invented the polio vaccine, talked about how he had been working on the problem for a long time, and then it came to him complete after being stymied for a long time, and then he suddenly, oh, that's the formula. That's how it goes. Has anybody ever had that happen? Did you invent a vaccine? You may have solved some problem. Or so the Bhagavatam, in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that you can notice me if you'll notice how I'm giving you intelligence. And in a poetical way, Prabhupada speaks about this and says that just as a parent gives direction to his or her child, so similarly, the manifestation of God in our heart is also speaking to us like a parent. Have you ever heard that voice from within that said, oh, don't do that? And I'm like, no, I wanna. And then afterwards I go, I'm sorry. There's a relationship we have Although it's slightly distant, we hear the voice if we're very careful to listen. But then there's another level of relationship that we have with Krishna as a person. So the Bhagavatam and all the related literatures say that we are all parts of God, and qualitatively we have the same features, and that is called Sat, which is eternality, Chit, which is conscious awareness, and Ananda, which is the tendency to enjoy. You don't like to enjoy though, right? Right? Incorrect? You want to be happy? You sure? All right. You're not so enthusiastic about that one. So nobody prays for misfortune. Everyone wants to find something that brings happiness and so forth. So this is our tendency for Ananda. And Chit, knowledge. If you go anywhere, I've tested it. Any lobby at any airport, or bus station, or even BART. You can go to BART. Or not BART, but what's that train called? Caltrain, the really loud one you have to wear earphones for. What's that about? We're in California. So you'll just notice everyone's buried in some kind of literature, usually on their phone nowadays, unfortunately. But there's a way in which every living being is attracted towards some kind of sense of knowing things. Or like a newspaper. Everyone used to read the newspaper. I don't know if they still have those, but they've been popular since time immemorial because, let me read it. It's a symptom of our consciousness. We want to know things. And we want to become aware of what's going on everywhere. So that's a feature of God. God does know everything and everyone. We have a smaller realm that we can be aware of. In fact, that's one thing that Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that is an awakening of our sense of ourselves. He says that we are the knower of the field, and the field is the body, whereas God's the knower of all fields. So he's in everyone's heart, but we as individuals are localized within just the heart of this body. And we know everything about our bodies, right? Not so much. But we are aware that we're in a body. So we have an awareness, we have a field, and God has an awareness, and his field is unlimited, ours is limited. So that's the difference between us and God, is that he's unlimitedly conscious of everything. He knows everything at all times and all places and all circumstances. And just as he's eternal, we're co-eternal. Just as there's sun rays, there's no meaning to sun without sun rays, right? Say yes. And so similarly, we're like the rays that emanate from the sun. So just as God is eternal, we're also eternal. We have that feature, Sat. We'd like, even while we're in these bodies, to live forever, right? Yes. Say yes. You can go to Barnes & Noble's on Burlingame Avenue. I just walked in the other day, and I looked around at the different sections of the bookstore, and I saw there's one on health or something like that, and there's a book called How to Not Die. So naturally, I looked in it. Some of the ways to not die are to eat certain vegetables because they prevent you from getting certain diseases. The author has found out natural cures to every disease known to man. Is that possible? Not really. But most of the major ones, I thought he left out a few million. But it's worth the try. And everyone tries because that's our nature. Sat. We're eternal. And the idea that the body's going to drop off. First of all, I think I'm my body, right? Has anybody ever thought like that? You look at yourself like, how do I look? You look bad. It's like, oh no. So while we're in this body, we want to live forever because I think I'm my body, so I try to make my body live forever, which is okay. I mean, you should eat broccoli. But it won't stay, and there's a sense of angst that I'll have to die. So Bhagavad Gita says, you don't die, just you change situations constantly. The material world's always changing, but you never change. That's your sat nature, and it's incompatible with the changing material world. Very reassuring in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, there is a realm that you're going to like a little better. And it's not always changing. It's not manifest and unmanifest. It's permanent. And you can attain that through the loving devotional service of God. You'll just be transferred there by that. So then Sat, Chit, God knows everything, and then Ananda. And there's a natural pleasure, potency, the tendency to enjoy happiness. And there was an author that came here a while back and spoke about a book she had written, which I never read, even though I think I got a signed copy. But I was satisfied just with the title. Should I tell you what the title is? Yes. Happy for No Reason. Happy for no reason. That would give an inkling into this idea of Ananda, which is that I'm happy, but there's no reason I'm happy. In other words, my so-called happiness in this world may be dependent on circumstances. What circumstances would you think would trigger this idea that, okay, I'm happy right now? Give a few suggestions. I feel healthy for a few minutes before, okay, and then wealth. You get a big, what do you get? A big paycheck? What do they call a bonus? And then you're like, wow, that's way more than I thought I was going to get. And then there's a sense of, yeah. But the happiness for no reason, you didn't get a bonus. You're not even healthy, but you're still happy because it's the nature of the spiritual soul, who's part of God, to feel happy. So we have these qualities, just as if you take a drop of seawater and you can say, well, okay, let's analyze the drop. It has the same ingredients as the whole sea, only it's a drop and it's not the whole ocean. So God's like the ocean and we're like the little drop. We have same qualities. So one of the practical tenets of the Srimad Bhagavatam is that when we're connected to Krishna in consciousness, that's why this is called the International Society for Consciousness. Krishna consciousness. It means if you turn your consciousness to Krishna, who's the reservoir of all eternality, of knowledge and happiness, and you connect with him, then you naturally feel happy. And you naturally feel you're filled with knowledge. And you also realize, I'm eternal. That's a big relief, actually. It's described in the Bhagavad Gita. When you realize that you're eternal, Krishna says in the Gita, he gives these, here's what you're going to feel. He says, prasannatma, that's the first sense that I just feel naturally happy. And then there's no hankering or lamentation because you realize that all the things that you normally lament about, they're not yours anyway. And then there's a sense of universality where you see and relate to others as also being parts of God. So there's not that biting sense of envy. There's a natural way in which birds of a feather flock together. Certain ants fight against other kinds of ants. Have you ever seen that on the Nature Channel? You don't watch the Nature Channel? There's a way in which human beings are all harmonious and peaceful. They don't fight, right? Do they sometimes? Yes. Over borders? Do they fight over borders? Sometimes, and they fight over maybe slight differences in the way they look. Sometimes, right? Or maybe all times. Well, when you become spiritually conscious, you see beyond that ruse, that idea that, oh, that person is different from me. You see that actually we're all spiritual beings. We all come from God. So there's a great relief when one realizes one's eternality. I don't actually die. I have nothing to lose because I never had anything in the first place. And there's a sense of inner universal relationship with everything and everyone. So there's a few practical ways. Now, just a last point before we have discussion, and that is that there are ways that one can perform what's called devotional service. I mentioned it before, this way that we can give ourselves to God. And, okay, how do we do that? Someone say, well, I'm very devoted, but then we may go on with our lives and be separated from the sense of connection to God. Or we may also be fraught with various habits that seem to be, that give us a sense of cognitive dissonance. We're not actually serving God, we're serving ourselves. So the Bhagavatam says there's some ways, despite whatever situation you're in now, you can enter into the service of God, and because of that service, you'll naturally become purified and your consciousness will be connected to God. So the first one is called Shravanam. Shravanam means to hear about God and about God's devotees. And the second one is called Kirtanam, which means to chant or sing about God or say things about God. And the third one is called Smaranam, which means to remember those things. Whatever we listen to, whatever we speak about, that's what we're going to remember. And that's how our mind gets formed. And whatever way our mind goes, we go. We follow that. So the first three stages of practicing devotional service are Shravanam, hearing, Kirtanam, singing, chanting, speaking, and Smaranam, remembering God. And anybody can do that just by reading from these books, talking to devotees of God and things like that. And there are many other practical ways that one can enter into this, and there is a great immediate benefit that the Bhagavatam says one gets just by, even if one doesn't completely understand the process, if one enters into it, there's naturally a sense of detachment from bad habits and attachment to trivial things. One starts to feel distance from those. And also one gets a sense of knowledge that I'm not really my body, I belong to God, and so forth. Please turn down the heat. It's like the Sahara Desert in here, isn't it? We need oxygen. Of course, I could have been more democratic and said, how do you feel? But I was afraid you'd say, I'm freezing. We'll just get a little air in here. And now we'll just have some discussion, which means anything you've heard so far that caught your attention, or a question you can ask that will expand the conversation. Malini.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you for such a wonderful class. The part where you were explaining about how, about Bhagavatam you were explaining, and what is the effect of reading Bhagavatam. Yesterday we were having a call where I read some weekly Bhagavatam with some of my family members, and they also hear from Srivas Prabhu about Bhagavad Gita the next day. So it's been almost 2 years or something. And yesterday I asked them, what do you think has happened so far? And my aunts, my father and everybody, they were sharing. And my father said, we are living entities. We are tatastha. And one of them said that, I saw that my anger has reduced a little bit, not too much. And someone said that, I don't feel so envious of other people. And one said, I feel satisfaction in my life. And my father said that my needs have reduced. Like, I don't feel that I need a lot of things anymore. And one of my aunt didn't say anything, so I was just wondering what was going on in her mind. And after the entire class, my aunt who didn't speak, she said that, I feel that I'm just wasting a lot of my time. And I don't touch the book. I don't touch the Bhagavatam, apart from the weekly calls that we have. And I feel so unsatisfied. And then she said, what should I do? I want to finish this before I leave my body. That's what she was mentioning. So I said, it's good to read, but it's good if you have company. And immediately everybody jumped in and said, we want to read this daily now because we don't want to miss this Bhagavatam. So they formed a group and now they are going to read on a daily basis. So I was just thinking, all of them have different backgrounds. Some of them follow Swadhyaya, some of them are devotees of Lord Shiva, everything. But I saw how Bhagavatam brought everyone together. And they have noticed personally, I didn't say anything, but they noticed personally that what are the changes they're seeing just by reading like little bit at a time. So I totally resonated with what you said about how Bhagavatam is purifying completely. Thank you.
That's how your family rolls. Hear a little Bhagavatam, next thing you know, they're full on. That's nice. Question?
Hare Krishna, Namaste. For me, when you were saying the last three things, to hear and to speak God's name and Sparan, that just went. It was beautiful.
It resonated.
Yeah, it was beautiful.
Yeah, it's very practical because these are things we do anyway. We notice that what do we do during the day? We hear something. So now the question is, what are you going to hear? There are a lot of things to hear. In fact, this is one of the conversations that takes place near the beginning of the Bhagavatam. One of the teachers said there are millions of things that you can hear. In my youth, we had television. Kids. And with the nightly television, there wasn't that much programming in the day except soap operas. I know that because sometimes I'd stay home from school sick and then it turned on the TV and it was like, ew, it's just soap operas. General Hospital. So then at night there'd be a news program. And there was only one that I know of. It was Huntley Brinkley. If you know what I'm talking about, you're old. So, and there was just a half hour of news. They just come on and tell you what was happening in the world, same horrific stuff as now, but it was only half an hour. But nowadays, everybody's doing the news. Even everyone's got their own independent YouTube things like, oh, I could do the news just as well as anybody else. All you have to do is get a green screen and then put yourself in front of the Capitol building and say like, okay, the world's really messed up and let's go through the points. There are millions of channels, things to hear now. And of course there always will be, because we have options to listen, to tune in to certain levels of conversations. And if you don't like what you're being subjected to, does anybody feel like that? Then change the subject, because that's our prerogative. As independent spiritual beings, we can choose from moment to moment. You may even notice this, that, okay, I have a choice right now. I can listen to this or I can listen to that. And spiritual advancement is a very simple definition given by one of the great teachers called Jiva Goswami. He said, to the degree that when you're faced with these two choices of listening to something we'll call mundane, related just to the material world, that which comes and goes and which you can do absolutely nothing about. Does that resonate with anybody? That which comes and goes, you can do nothing about. And some spiritual topic. The ability you have to tune into the spiritual topic, meaning that you have this taste for it, or at least you have the intelligence and you have the wherewithal to choose the right thing, choose the superior sound vibration to listen to To the degree that you have that, that's the degree to which he says you're advancing spiritually. Simple definition. So Shravanam, hearing. And then, of course, whatever you hear, you're going to chant. You may notice this. If you listen to the 24-hour news cycle and then you sit down with your family and everyone's going, well, what do you want to talk about? Like, you'll start talking about the news cycle. And it's really blissful, the news cycle. It's just so many great qualities people have that they discuss, and everyone tells the truth, and people love one another and work together and so forth, and that's all you'll talk about, right? From the news cycle? Maybe, not so much. And then remembering, yes, please go ahead.
2 questions.
Okay.
Okay, not related to this.
First one's free.
First one's free, okay.
Okay.
So, one is...
Keep the microphone really close.
Radha Rani is closest to Krishna, right? Radha Rani.
Yeah.
So how come she doesn't wear this tilak? She just wears a bindi. Like out of all the people, she's closest, and she is not wearing the Vaishnav tika.
That's interesting you bring that up, because I just called one of my godbrothers yesterday, Pushkar. He's an artist, and he did some of the original paintings for the BBT. There's a lot of artists who did paintings. And I was asking him, because I'm doing another book with some illustrations in it, and some of them have pictures of Krishna. So one of the devotee artists was saying, should Krishna be wearing tilak or not? And if so, just the circle, should the leaf be there? And so I called Pushkar, because he got a lot of instruction from Prabhupada about how to paint these pictures. And he said, actually, we never got any clear direction. So I was just about to talk to Dhriti today, and there are a few other artists who got more instruction on that. So I can let you know as soon as I talk to them. In fact, I'm really interested in the talking to the artists who are still around. Some of them are already departed, as in they left their bodies, they died. Some of them are still here and available resources. I'm going to compile some more information by talking to them, and I'll let you know. What's your second question?
So
50 cents.
Just
Go ahead.
curiosity. Why do we stand when we're doing arti?
Why do you stand when you're doing arti? It's optional.
It's optional.
It's optional.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, questions? Prabhu, you go ahead, and then we'll take... I can't see who's online of the... Okay, Dhanavari.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you so much for nicely explaining the Sambandha Jnana. So initially when you were talking about impersonalism and variety in this world, so I remember one of the pastime that I recently read in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was very small, Sachimata gave some sweetmeats to eat to him. But when she went inside, he started eating dirt. And when Sachimata came, so he said that sweetmeats is also a transformation of earth, and what I'm eating is also earth. So what is the difference? So Sachimata defeated that argument by saying that if you have an earthen pot, you can use that for storing water. But if there is dirt, right, you can't use that for any practical purpose. So Prabhupada in the purport, he says that the simple argument of Sachimata can defeat the biggest arguments of impersonalism. So variety means there is some purpose, and the ultimate use of all the varieties to use that in the service of Krishna.
Thank you. It's an important point, because a spiritual philosophy also has to be practical. If you can't utilize it in your life, then what is the use of it? In a conversation Prabhupada was having once with an impersonalist philosopher, he asked the person, if I say cotton ball and cotton shirt, is it the same thing? And the person was insisting, no, it's the same. Prabhupada pointed out that you can't wear a cotton ball, but you can wear a cotton shirt. So there is variety within the oneness, and there's practical aspects. There's an important point that comes along with this. Because we are inhabitants of a material body, we also have to attend to that. Just because one is cultivating spiritual knowledge or relationship with Krishna and the devotees doesn't mean that you don't have to attend to your body. Means there are some duties to perform in relationship to the body, even as we cultivate our spiritual lives. Okay, Dhanavari, and then we'll come.
Hare Krishna. Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances to you. Thank you so much for giving us knowledge non-stop and giving your time and your wisdom. Thank you. The one reflection I have is I like the point, happy for no reason, because in this material world, everybody, even though you have everything, but the mind is works in such a way that you think you're not happy, let's do this and find something. So I like that point, and that slogan is very nice to share with other people who have some difficulties, or myself as well. And I like the Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma sloka. It's very nice. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Dhanavari. Very nice. What's not to like, right? Jai. Krishna Saka. And then we'll go. We see you, Yashoda Kripa.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Dandavat Pranam, Jishla Prabhupada. I have one reflection and one question.
Okay.
So reflection is, I never understood the, if you don't like what you're being subjected to, change the subject. Because I can't always change the subject, but I now understood that it is more of a vibration. Last year, I couldn't change so much of what I was being subjected to, but it is all about hearing and chanting. I can always, and then I had realization that what if nothing works, I can always hear and chant, that I can change. So it was, today I was understanding that, okay, if I don't like what I am subjected to, I can change the subject. It is about vibration, that I can change my, I can always hear and chant. And the question I had was, I was distributing books in Oregon, and one lady came and she said, you don't need anything external. Like, we are hearing and chanting, that is all external. She was following some guru from India, and she was saying that, you don't need anything external. You just, their philosophy was just meditate for 2 hours and just let the thoughts, don't force yourself, just let thoughts come and go, whatever happens, just sit and meditate. And she was saying she was feeling tingling, and Shakti was coming in and everything like that. So what would you say about something, philosophy like that? It was also, she was saying, it is lineage of gurus and everything like that, but what would you say something like that?
We, in any discipline, if you're going to take the trouble to practice anything, you would like to know, where am I going? What is the goal? There's no doubt that one can practice in various ways, but what might be the result, the ultimate result? In the Gita, Krishna is very broad-minded. He says, Yanti deva vrta devan pitrin yanti pratirvrta bhutani yanti bhuteja yanti mam yajinopi mam. Yanti means where you're going to end up. And so one can end up anywhere, because the soul has a way of being able to move in any direction. That's the nature of the soul, according to the Vedic Shastra, that the soul is, first of all, sarvagataha, means it's situated everywhere. There's no place in the creation you can go where there aren't souls. And there's also a sense that the soul has agency, and therefore you can decide where to go, and you can go there. And Krishna makes it very clear that every process has a destination. Whatever you do, bhuta bhavod bhavakaro visargo karma sangjita, because of the way you're cultivating your consciousness, you're going to end up somewhere. And it used to be, and still is in many realms, an idea that spiritual life is whatever you feel like doing, and whatever you want to do. A yatamat tatapat is an old saying that doesn't matter what path you're on, they all lead to the same place. Well, good luck if you get on an airline and you wanted to go to Illinois and you end up going to New York, going to a different place. So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, be aware of this fact that there's a destination for the way that you're cultivating your consciousness. Well, but what would I say is really your question. And I would ask, well, what is your goal? What is the ultimate goal of what you're trying to achieve? In some cases, it's not valuable to argue with someone unless you have a common denominator to deal with. For instance, if someone says, show me God, then you say, well, okay, what will you accept as evidence how to show God to you? Or prove there's God. What do you accept as proof? If you go to a university and you walk into an advanced class and you say, show me, recombinant DNA technology, and you've not studied the subject, you may look inside the test tube, inside the microscope, and it's like, I don't see anything. But the other person sees it because he or she has studied the science. So in any bona fide conversation, in any reasonable conversation, there has to be an epistemology to start. How do you know, and what do you accept as proof? Otherwise, anybody can say anything, and this is postmodernism. Well, that's your truth. I have my truth. Everything's relative. There's no sense that you can come to a conclusion. So there's no real reason to argue about anything unless you're going to have a common playing field. What if you play a game, say maybe they have the Super Bowl, and they say, okay, this one there's no rules. There's no end zone. You can score in any which way, run up into the stands or whatever you want to do. And then everyone was like, what's going on? And a conversation where there's no rules also. It's like whatever you say, whatever you do, it's all good. Then you can't come to a conclusion, a satisfying conclusion. So in those cases, as far as intellectualizing and comparing philosophies, you have to have some common ground to start with. That's why in the main systems of philosophy they're called the darshans of Indian philosophy, there's always first an abstract that describes what's the goal of it, and then there's a comprehensive discussion of what's the means to get there and so forth. And there's a common understanding of what are the rules of engagement as far as discussing the philosophy. There have to be some rules of engagement to discuss and compare one thing to another. Otherwise, there's no comparison. It's just like whatever you believe, that's fine. Okay, Yashoda Kripa.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So you brought this interesting point of cognitive dissonance. Just yesterday, I was talking to Prahlad Prabhu. I believe he's in the class right now. And he was mentioning about some relatives or some friends who were going through a difficult moment. Somebody passed away in their family, and they were discussing, he gave them the books and Bhagavad Purana to discuss Garud Purana, everything, and they know about those things and they understand things, but they still don't want to understand and accept anything as truth, as serving in devotion. And that kind of reflected when we were mentioning the cognitive dissonance today. I want to share that.
You said there was a discussion and there was no rules. Is that what he was saying? Truth available, nobody wanted. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. You can lead a man to wisdom, but you can't make him think. Man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. Yeah, it's always, you see debates that take place in the Bhagavatam and elsewhere, and when someone says, okay, you're right, I surrender, you're shocked, right? Because that doesn't happen nowadays. It doesn't matter how plainly somebody makes their case, and it's like he won, it's like, no, I won. This is the kind of superficial state of people's idea of arguing. It's just arguing for arguing's sake, and it's one of the symptoms of Kali Yuga. It's called the age of quarrel, which means there's a lot of pettiness and there's no rules. Everything goes. Yeah. Thank you. I think. Okay, next. Who is up next? Vaikuntha Nayak, coming all the way from Mysore, the home of the Mysore Palace and Mysore Pak.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranam Maharaj.
Hello.
Actually, it was just a very quick reflection on the conversation that Krishna Sakha Prabhu had with that lady from Oregon. I couldn't help but share that. Like, that lady is saying that she doesn't need anything external, but the guru is also external to her. So why is she following that so-called guru? Right? It just doesn't make any sense. Like these words being thrown around with the words may be making sense, but the sentences do not. So yeah, it's such a rip-off. These things that's happening. Yes.
Yeah, Prabhupada would make that point frequently. Sometimes people would say, my guru says you don't need books. And then he said, well, why did he write a book? And then you say, like, you don't need to hear anybody's opinion. It's like, why is he giving that opinion then? Why does he even say that? It becomes a logical fallacy to come to that point. And philosophy, again, even Western philosophy has rules of engagement. You can't claim that there's a square triangle. It's absurd. It doesn't mean anything. And nowadays people think philosophy means you can say anything you want and it's philosophy. It's like, it's compared in the Bhagavatam, says, Shwavid Varahoshta Karai, different kinds of animals. Donkeys bray, they go, and they think this is really beautiful. And sometimes people give opinions and they think, well, this is really brilliant. But it's not necessarily brilliant. It's just arguing for the sake of arguing, unless you're trying to come to a conclusion. And that's one of the main thrusts of the Bhagavatam, that Vasudeva Paraveda, Vasudeva Paramukha, Vasudeva Parayoga, Vasudeva Parakriya, Vasudeva Param Jnanam, Vasudeva Param Tapa, Vasudeva Paro Dharmo, Vasudeva Paragati. It's like, no, there is a that you can point to. That, tut, and that same word, Sanskrit and English, is like, no, there's a place you can point, there is a God, there is a form, and it's like, no, it's whatever you want it to be. That's not philosophy. Okay, where are we now? Okay, we'll do one in-house and then we'll go to Navdeep.
Hi Krishna, Guru Maharaj, Dandavat Pranams. So adding to what Malini Mataji was saying, when initially I started reading Bhagavatam, it was just following instructions. And once I started reading it, it's so nectarian and so sweet that I started facing this very sweet dilemma that I wanted to read more, but I was afraid that if I read more, I would progress and reach towards the end of the cantos. So it was like this sweet dilemma. And I started noticing this quality, which is usually considered as negative, greed. But then I saw that I was getting very greedy to continue reading more of it. And every evening, I have like half an hour to 45 minutes call with my parents where we would just talk about mundane things and catch up. And this used to be a daily thing. And I started feeling that this was such a waste of time that I started making them read. So I would have them read and I would listen and vice versa. And they also started really observing how much fulfillment and satisfaction they were getting out of Bhagavatam. So.
Yeah, Rupa Goswami, he includes a verse in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu that says, don't go see Krishna. In fact, Krishna's there at Keshi-Ghat right now, and in the verse, the speaker is saying, don't go down there. Don't see him. Because once you see him, then your whole life's going to be ruined. Because you'll lose your attraction for the material world. And if you don't want that to happen, just don't go in there. I was talking to two gentlemen when I was in Toronto. I was distributing Bhagavad Gita, and after each Bhagavad Gita I would distribute to somebody, I'd say, well, here's the Maha Mantra, would you like to chant? And so one of them was open to it, although not fully enthusiastic, and the other one was very suspect. So, of what I was doing. So I said, okay, here's the mantra. Repeat after me. He said, Hare Krishna. And before the first person could say anything, the other one put his arm out and he said, stop, don't do it. I said, very interesting. Why shouldn't he do it? And he goes, we don't know what it is. We don't know what's in there. There's this sense of the soul, like, hey, if I go in there, if I actually go in that church or temple or whatever, and I have this sense of duty to God, then I'm going to lose my independence to enjoy the material world, and don't do it, that kind of thing. So he humorously says that. It's a warning. Don't go in there. Navdeep.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam. So just got realization, like you saw that book, like how not to die. So even the author might have spent a lot of time to investigate how not to die and pointing out all the things, but definitely they are themselves going to die. So, but when we are trying to read the scriptures like Bhagavatam and all, so we, as you were saying, like once we get to know, like we are not going to die, that's a big relief for all of us. So, yeah, that's the realization I got from the class, and many other things that stung in my mind.
Thank you. I would just point out that the Bhagavatam begins with the end in mind. And one of the ways that the book starts is that Parikshit Maharaj is faced with death. He has a limited amount of time to live and he knows it, so he wants to know, what am I supposed to do with myself over the next week? And his teacher says, start with the end in mind. The end is, when you leave your body, you should be fully aware of God. Because, as is already stated in Gita, Bhuta Bhavod Bhavav Karo Visarga Karma Sangjita. You're creating your next situation because of your consciousness now. The thrust of your feelings, the aggregate of your feelings will push you into the next situation. So he said, use the next 7 days to become fully aware of God. Because that's the end. It's called Ante Narayana Smriti. At the end, you should be able to remember God. So that's important. Not only that we don't die, that's okay. I mean, it's better than okay. But but it's important to know, where should I be going? Where should I place my consciousness? We all have that opportunity to question, where am I going to focus? And we don't necessarily know. Parikshit Maharaj knew he had 7 days to live. How many days do we have to live? 7 days. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. One of those days. It's just... Anyway, I'll keep moving here. We have Shankari Kaur.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my most respectful obeisances at your lotus feet. My pranams to all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis this morning. Guru Maharaj, I was just thinking when you said Jato Pad Tato Mar, it's people can go on saying that. It's just that they don't understand the urgency and the gift, the urgency of going out of the material world in this human body. Because this human body is so rare. Yes, they may take lifetimes after lifetimes, but will they get this opportunity that they've gotten? You know, Pran Govind Prabhu also says that what if you don't take birth in the next 10,000 years, when Krishna consciousness movement will not be there? What are you going to do then? So understand the urgency of getting out of this material world while the devotees are around to teach you what you really need to know to give you this vidya. I just wanted to share that. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, that's such an important point. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta urged that don't try to wait for another life to say, oh, I'll do it next time. Don't procrastinate on this one. Take full advantage now that you have the opportunity. That's the mood of an advanced transcendentalist, is to think I should take advantage now. Okay, we're running out of time, but we have two, Prahlad and then Kennedy.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. So we talked a lot about material conditions and spiritualism, right? But when you face material problems, right, you're stuck and you feel that if you try a little bit more, you could solve that, right? But it never comes to a point where you could solve, and then you're stuck in that cycle, catch-22 situation, right? What would you suggest in that case to get out of such condition? And you said that if you follow spiritualism, you'll get everything, like Bhagavatam says that. But in a moment, it's very difficult to find out what to do. What do you suggest in that moment?
It's best to combine spiritual practice with your endeavors in the material world. Krishna says this in the Gita. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mama nusmara yudyacha mayarpita mano bhurir mami vaishyasya samshayaha. This comes in the, which chapter of the Gita? Okay, everyone's learning the 8th chapter, right? So he says, therefore, that's what the verse starts with, because you're forced by your consciousness at the time of death to go to a particular destination. Conclusion, therefore, tasmat sarveshu kalishu, in all times, in all places. Sarveshu means everywhere, kalishu means all times. Mam anusmara yudhya, you should always remember me. And yudhya is a very important point in this verse, because who's he talking to, Krishna? What's he urging Arjuna to do? And no, he told him to go home and chant, right? He said, don't quit your day job. You're a warrior, you got to fight, right? So he's saying, while you're fighting, and as you're fighting, and Prabhupada says, we can take this. It's very important for every person who's engaged in the world. Is that you don't stop engaging in the world, but you add chanting Hare Krishna. Because if you do that, then you'll be able to work things out. Well, how do we work things out? There's a sense that I'm engaging with the world, using everything as paraphernalia in Krishna's service. And Krishna says, whether you win or lose, that's not the point. Whether you make money or lose money, that's not the point. The main point is that you're doing it for Krishna. And then he says, Brahmanyadaya karmani sangam tyakva karotiya lipitena sapapena padma patram vivambasa. For 20 points, what are the 3 words that exemplify this verse? That's a logo. What is it? Live like a lotus. The lotus comes out of the mud, lives in the water, it's never touched by the mud or water. Krishna says, if you change the way you think about your engagement in the world, I'm doing this and offering the result to God. Even as I work, even as I do my duty, then you're not attached to the result. And if you're attached to the result, then you have to suffer or enjoy. And both of them are engagement in 2 sides of the coin in the material world. So become a transcendentalist by working the world, just on a very practical level. I have this realization with all the duties that I have to do, which is nothing compared to what all of you do, but it's just a realization that I have that unless I read Prabhupada's books every day, I'll go insane. Because there's no solutions to so many problems. There's so many things that come up and go like, okay, if I choose that, I'm really in a bad shape, but that's worse. I mean, they both seem equally bad, the choices. And you have to have a lot of courage to move forward and to say, okay, how am I going to do my duty? And you get courage by reading the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam and getting your own sense of spiritual strength by chanting. Otherwise, the material world seems like an endless string of intractable situations that you really can't solve, and things that just all of a sudden, whatever was working, and it's, what do you mean it's going sideways? It just is. That's the material world. But you can handle it if you get your bhajan going and make sure you have a spiritual base so that when you see things, you see it in relationship to the Bhagavad Gita. And think of Prabhupada's life. How did he deal with stuff? He grew up in an environment where he had to deal with all kinds of situations. And it's not that they all came to him completely solved. He had to solve all kinds of situations. You can see he just followed the process that other great saints do, which is to just follow what Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. Okay, Kennedy, for the close. Better be good. No pressure.
Hare Krishna, Dandavat Pranams. Please have mercy on me. Just to get a little romantic here, just for the close. We live in this world where, we're torn in so many ways of what we can do with our time, and we can be passionate about something today for results tomorrow, or passionate about in this lifetime and spend an entire lifetime in the results of those actions, living in the heavenly planets. But ultimately we have to come back here again. In chapter 9, it speaks about this in the Gita. But ultimately we can live like a lotus in this life, which not only when we come above the mud are we untouched by the mud, but even when we have to weather the rain, we have a waxy coating. And in this lifetime, I am not a warrior. I am not meant to fight in a battle. I am meant to tolerate. I am meant to be tolerant of this world so that I can love Krishna, because there's many adages about loving great men and having to suffer for it, but there is no one more worthy than Krishna. And so when we choose to love Krishna and we gain that thick skin, that waxy coating, and we can tolerate the storms and the waves and the mud, then suddenly we get to live that happily ever after that you were talking about at the beginning of this class. And in this lifetime, people think, oh, happily ever after. I find a beautiful man and he's smart and I marry him. I find a woman who can cook really well and she loves me and she can give me beautiful children. That's all well and good. And that's a gift from Krishna. And we can do a lot of great things in Krishna's service with those. But if we lose the point that we're supposed to be doing that for Krishna, and that at the end we go to Vaikuntha Loka and we serve him there, that's the happily ever after. That's the real heavenly kingdom. And it's with that in mind that, living like a lotus, living happily ever after, making a point out of this life. It's so easy to get lost. Even Narada Muni had once asked Krishna, show me what Maya is like. And he got lost real fast. Narada Muni got lost. So what to say of us? And so when we think of moments where someone is saying, oh, but I don't need externals. Yes, we do. Oh, we rely on them. Those are our shelter. Well, you don't need externals, but you need to live in a house. And so in that beautiful way, we can come to the shelter of the lotus feet of our spiritual master, of Krishna, of the Vaishnavas. There's a limitless village for us to take shelter of. And that's Krishna's gift, so that we can come to the point of living like a lotus and tolerate, so that we can also share this abode with others.
Get a waxy coating. Love Krishna. Thank you very much, Kennedy. Now we have our main event for the morning. This is the warm-up act. We have a Vaishnava or Vaishnavi. Is that the one right there? I'd believe it if you're the teacher. Okay. We have a Vaishnavi coming in, so we're going to just relocate, move the stage a little bit for a 5-10 minute presentation. And just after that, we're going to have our Guru Puja. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining online. Please stay for the next presentation, and thanks for joining us in the live studio audience. Vanchakalpadurishya kripasanabhavaja patitanam pavanibhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, dear Vaisesika Prabhu, and all of you. It's so inspiring when I constantly hear such wonderful glorification of Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, and also of Lord Krishna through your words. We will continue with the glories of the Gopis of Vrindavan. So today we have Kartika, who's been attending the Kaishara class for almost a year now, present to us on this very esoteric topic. Thank you so much. I hand over to Kartika.
Hare Krishna, everyone. My name is Kartika, and today I'll be presenting The Secrets of Bhakti at a Glance, Chapter 15, Why Gopis Are the Topmost Devotees. Introduction. Every living entity is a fragment of God. God's love is in each and every one of us, but they're only covered by material illusion, overwhelming the soul by the forgetfulness of pure love. All love comes from Krishna, and Krishna should also be the ultimate object for us to love too. If everyone put God as the centered and loved God, we would all be more reconnected and united. Introduction. In all who love Krishna, the residents of Vrindavan are topmost. And in Vrindavan, the Gopis have the most love for Krishna. And in all the Gopis, Srimati Radharani has the highest love. Why? Because they do selfless service without thinking about removing their pain or finding any benefit. Their mind and body always work for Krishna and only to satisfy Krishna. Selfless service. Selfless service is to do service without thinking about getting anything in return. The closest we could get in this material world is the relationship between a mother and a child. The mother protects, cares, and serves for the child without expecting anything in return. But since this is the material world, the love can often fade off as the child grows, or may not live the whole time. In the spiritual world, the Gopis' love always stays with Krishna, no matter how far they are apart. All the services they do, they have Krishna in their mind. Remembering him. A sloka from the Bhagavatam states, Yadohane vahanane matano palepa Prenkankanar barudito kshanamajanado Gayanti chena manurakta diyosukantyo Tanya vajastriya rukramachittayana. The translation reads, the ladies of Vraja are the most fortunate of women, because with their minds fully attached to Krishna and their throats always choked up with tears, they constantly sing about him. While milking their cows, winnowing grain, churning butter, gathering cow dung for fuel, riding on swings, taking care of their crying babies, sprinkling the ground with water, cleaning their houses, and so on. By their exalted Krishna consciousness, they automatically acquire all desirable things. Canto 10, chapter 44, text 15, explains how the ladies and gopis of Vraja always have their mind on Krishna, and no matter what they're doing, since they have their mind on Krishna, they get all necessities and beneficial things. The topmost display of love. The purest exhibit of love in the spiritual world is the rasa dance. When Krishna enjoyed the rasa dance, he was only 8. In a material point of view, we might think this is not an age to dance with girls. But Krishna is the Supreme Lord, and he does not have any desires, but he was only fulfilling the desire of the gopis, who want Krishna as their husband. Testimony for purest love. A pastime that shows the gopis' pure love and devotion is the story of Uddhava. Uddhava was sent from Mathura. When Krishna was in Mathura, he sent Uddhava to send a message to the gopis. When Uddhava came to Vrindavan, the gopis started crying after seeing the resemblance of Uddhava and Krishna, and started remembering the pastimes of Krishna and them. Uddhava stayed, to console the gopis, Uddhava stayed in Vraja for a few more days. He was extremely pleased when he saw the gopis' pure devotion to Krishna. Being a humble Vaishnava, he didn't wish for equal or higher love than the gopis, but wished to be a mere grass or creeper, so that when the gopis step on him, the dust from their feet will bless him. Conclusion. Anyone who listens to the pastimes of Krishna and the gopis with the right heart will not have any desires and will get a higher understanding of spiritual knowledge. Thank you for listening. Hare Krishna.
Kartik, right?
Huh?
Kartika.
Oh, Kartika.
Kartika. Does that relate to the month of Kartika?
Yes.
That's very appropriate for the presentation you gave, as it made me think of, it was a very concise presentation, but it had such depth to it. You gave the essence of devotional service, which is the idea of selfless love, and you gave such nice definitions for it. And then you took us through a story-like presentation where we went to Vrindavan, we saw Uddhava go to Vrindavan, and I must say that it was quite absorbing. I also felt that you had looked into this quite a bit, because although you read from some of the slides, you also had your own commentary that you'd been thinking about a lot. And the presentation itself was aesthetically pleasing. I think the font that you used and the pictures that you organized were extremely beautiful. Thank you for taking your time and energy to present such a nice view of the spiritual world and the basic tenets of bhakti. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Any comments, reflections, or?
Thank you for the nice presentation. In the last slide, the conclusion slide, there was a sentence which said that one who hears about the pastimes of Krishna and Gopis with the right mind, or right heart, I think. Could you elaborate on what the right heart means?
Well, it's not, I think, I'm not really sure, but it's not just about hearing them. It's about like what you could reflect on the stories, like what your understanding is and how you could apply it to your life. I think that's what it means.
Anyone else want to say something? Any questions? Okay. I just want to mention that Kartika's oh, did you have a question? Oh, yeah, sorry, I missed you.
Hare Krishna, that was such a beautiful presentation. Thank you. My 12-year-old son is watching, and you led by example, so thank you. My question is, as a young person, you have many elders in your family. And currently, my son has a grandfather whose name is Krishna. And he's trying to bring his grandfather onto the path. And as some of the devotees said, Krishna has been in our family, but he is not accepted or engaged. And so the child asked the grandfather one day, "Grandpa, what is going to happen to you when you die?" And Grandpa said, "I'm going to become ashes, I'm going to become the earth." And the child said, "But Grandpa, don't you want to go back to God?" And he said, "But I think this is the end." So my question to you is, as a young person, if you are faced with an elder who doesn't want to accept, Guruji was saying we need to turn off the channel or change the channel, what would you do? Would you keep trying to convince them, or would you
I
walk
would
away?
try to convince them. I mean, like, because it's, I'm not really sure how to answer that, but I'm not really sure, but like maybe I would just start off with like simple stories, because stories, everybody, even if people aren't really Krishna consciousness, everybody listens to stories, and like stories like just grab your interest. So like you just start off by telling some stories from a Krishna consciousness. Yeah.
Thank you.
Kartika, I'd just like to appreciate your answer and give you a specific context for it. We just recently read the Srimad Bhagavatam 4th canto when we were in Vrindavan, and in it there's a king who's misguided. His name's Prachinnabarhi, and Narada Muni comes to teach him about the purpose of life and how to amend his life. But just as you were saying, he told him a story. And it's very interesting because he didn't give him a direct instruction or tell him that he was doing anything wrong, but he told a story about another king, a fictional king. He made it up. And by telling that story, it was almost parallel with the life of that king. It gave him the idea that I'm doing the wrong thing without offending his kingly ego. And it just occurred to me, what a great answer you gave about telling stories. It's one of the main techniques that Narada and other sages use. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. Actually, even I noticed Kartika, even though she's, relatively new compared to the other children, who have been in this congregation for so many years, I noticed that there's a spark, there's an eagerness, and there's a sincerity. And I've noticed her family is so committed. They attend Bhakti Vrikshas. They've been doing so much service. And they're very open-hearted and open-minded to understand what Krishna consciousness is all about, and it's rubbing off on the children. So I'm very grateful to her parents and her younger sister and herself. She's very sincere and curious, and like her answers, even though she may not be sure, actually they're hitting the right points. So thank you so much, Kartika, for your sincerity.
Thank you very much, Rashesh, for your leader, for bringing us such wonderful presentations every week. Under your guidance, these students are thriving and developing a sense for speaking about Krishna in public. Kartika, way to go. You really did great. Hare Krishna. Now we're going to have a Guru Puja. So what's required is some logistical planning. We're going to pick up all these asanas, move them to the back, and roll up that carpet and make an open space dance floor for our next program. Thank you very much. Gaudiya Vaishnava Seva Nistara Paye Ba. Gaudiya Vaishnava Seva Nistara Paye Ba. Namasheshtam Anamapi Shachiputram Matra Sarupam Shirupam Tasya Grajam Uruparim Maturim Goshtavatim Radha Kundam Girivaramaho Radhika Madhavasham Prapto Yasya Pratichakupaya Shri Gurum Tangatosmi He Guru Jnanada Dinabandho Swananda Data Kodanaika Sindho Vrindavana Sinahitavata Prasida Radha Pranaya Prashada He Dinabandho Kodanaika Sindho Guru Prasadam Mai Mandamudhe Laksha Parade Bahupapagade Tatpada Padme Sumatishta Krishne Daivo Payantya Paktim Kavayastavesha Ramayushapi Kridam Ridha Mudasvaranta Yontar Bahisthanubritam Ashubam Vadunvan Acharya Chaitya Vapusha Swagatim Vyanakti. Without serving the representative of Krishna, nobody can approach Krishna. I bow down to the beautiful lotus feet of my spiritual master, by whose causeless mercy I have attained the supreme holy name, the divine mantra, the service of the son of Shachi Mata, the association of Srila Sarup Damodar, Rupa Goswami and his older brother Sanatan Goswami, the supreme abode of Mathura, the blissful abode of Vrindavan, the divine Radha Kund and Govardhan Hill, and the desire within my heart for the loving service of Sri Radhika and Madhava in Vrindavan. O spiritual master, O giver of divine wisdom, O friend of the fallen, you are the giver of your own bliss, and you are the only ocean of mercy. Although dwelling in Vrindavan, you have descended for the welfare of fallen souls like myself, and you are preaching the divine love of Radha for Krishna. Please be kind upon me. O friend of the lowly, O Gurudev, you are the only ocean of mercy. I am a doleful and have committed hundreds of thousands of offenses. I have fallen into a dense myriad of sins. Therefore grace me with your mercy, so that my mind may be fixed on your lotus feet and on Sri Krishna. O my Lord, transcendental poets and experts in spiritual science could not fully express their indebtedness to you, even if they were endowed with the prolonged lifetime of Brahma, for you appear in two features, externally as the Acharya and internally as the Supersoul, to deliver the embodied living being by directing him how to come to you. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which you can attain pure devotional service. I bow down to those feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and attain the mercy of Krishna. Our only wish to have our consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens our darkened eyes and fills our hearts with transcendental knowledge. He is our Lord, birth after birth. From him ecstatic prema emanates. By him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, and the Lord and the master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful unto us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread all over the three worlds. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevalabha Jahati Sadma. Prishaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamiti Namine Namah. Srimate Bhaktivedanta Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shundavadi Panchacharishadharine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. Radha Shiva Sari Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Shiva Sari Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta-vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Go pray with us, Hari Bol. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hadaya Namaskaya Namaha Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha Gopal Govinda Ram Srimad Sudan Giridhari Gopinath Madan Mohan Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita Shri Rupi Sanatan Patha Raghunath Jiva Gopal Bhatta Das Raghunath H.I. Gosai Tori Charanam Mangan Jahavite Vignanash Abhishta Puran H.I. Gosai Jar Muitar Das Tansabara Pararinu Mora Panchakras Chandra Charana Seve Bhakta Sanivas Janame Janame Hoye Avilas H.I. Gosai Jabe Rajra Koilabas Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Koila Prakash Shri Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Koila Prakash. Get ready! Hey! Bolo Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan Bolo Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Madhamiyaman Shri Guru Vaishnava Pad Padma Kore Ash Hari Nam Sankirtan Kohe Narottamo Das Nam Hari Nam Sankirtan Kohe Narottamo Das Nam Sankirtan Hari Nam Sankirtan Kohe Narottamo Das Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Nam Bhajan Holy name Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Bolo Ram Nam Bhajan Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Bol! Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sing with me, sing with me. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nagar Kirtan. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Nam bhajan. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Bhajare. Hey, Hare Govinda, Gopala, Hare. Bhajare. जय श्री भगवान को मेरे बारंबार प्रणाम है। बजरे हे राजा गोविंद गोपाला हरे। Next. Radhe Govinda, Radhe Gopala,
Radha Madan Mohan,
Radha Madhava,
Radha Bhakti Hari,
Radha
Damodara
Radha Giridhari
Radha Gokulananda
Radha Gopinatha
Radha Gopi Vallabha
Krishna Chora
Radha Kunja Vihari
Radha Kunja Vihari
Nandanishwar
Gandharvika Giridhari
Radha Nila Madhava
Radha Nila Madhava
Radha Parthasarthi
Radha Parthasarthi
Radha Radhanatha Radha
Radha Vrindavan Chandra
Radha Vrindavan Chandra
Rukmani Dwarkadesh
Rukmini Dwarkadesh
Kishore Kishore
Oh! Kishore Kishori Radha Kala Chandi Bhajare Hey Radha Govinda Gopala Hare Hey Radha I say Shri Bhagavana ko mere Parambara Pranam Hai Bhagavana ko mere I say Shri Jnana Shyama ko mere Parambara Pranam Hai Jnana Shyama mere Parambara Pranam Go Premanande! Nitai Gora Hari Bo! Hari Bo! Hari Bo! Nitai Gora! Go! Jayom Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajakachajasto Darashti Shimad Abhay Charanarav in the Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Jayom Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajakachajasto Darashti Shimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavini Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Zakaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sri Gaur Bhaktavani Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gokopinath Shamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Shri Vrindavandam Ki Jai Shri Mayapur Navadip Dham Ki Jai Shri Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Jamuna Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai Sam Beta Bhaktavindi Ki Jai. All glories to some devotees. All glories to some devotees. All glories to some devotees. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Dear devotees, we've just come off of 2023 and we're already feeling momentum for 2024. That's the law of accelerating acceleration. The faster you go, the faster you're able to go. It's a physical law. And the way that Srila Prabhupada taught us to stay fully engaged with all our senses is to spread the Sankirtan movement, simultaneously to continue to refine our personal practice of devotional service, especially chanting Hare Krishna and hearing and chanting. There's no limit to how much you can refine and increase that. There's no law, and nobody can stop you if you want to do more. Right? Yes. Say yes. Yes. Yeah. It's not illegal. In fact, it's legal to decide to increase your service to Krishna. So everyone, feel free. you can do more service, you can do more hearing and chanting. And Krishna also says that anyone who's a kind friend to all living beings is most dear to me. So our main purpose is to be kind friend to all living beings. That means animals, insects, certainly human beings, trying to mold our lives in such a way we can do acts of kindness at every minute for all living beings. Let's speak of those who are amongst us. It's very important to have heartfelt relationships with the devotees, even though humans are difficult at some times. Right? Only a few of you feel that way? It's one of the practices of devotional service to have loving exchanges with the devotees. Give gifts, accept gifts, give prasadam, invite people over for prasadam, and then also talk about Krishna, find out how devotees are doing. Take time to get to know one another and be friends. Invite people into your circles. We're meant to be family-like. And especially when new people come, it's hard to break in because there's already a sense of comfort in our own zones. You'll notice at seminars, people always sit in the same seats. And they sit with the people they know. Right? That's my seat, that's where I sit. Birds do that too. I have a hummingbird, lives in my backyard. I don't know how long they live, but he's been there a long time. He always sits on the same branch. And he's not that friendly either, but anyway, he's got his nature. We have our natures too, but it's the feature of spiritual life that we should be soft-hearted and warm towards other people. And when people come into our organization, there's no restriction. It's not like, we should say, this person's new, I shouldn't talk to him. Of course, you shouldn't give free advice. That's another thing. When people come, don't give free advice. Just be welcoming. Everyone has their mentor system. Find out who they're being taken care of and whose guidance they're working under. Otherwise, things get confusing for people who come in, who just sort of say like, hey, why don't you come here or there? There's a lot of ways in which developing a community takes conscious effort, but it's the most important asset that we have, is the association of devotees, and when we can expand that so that it becomes an attractive prospect for people who want to come and actually feel at home somewhere. It's not the same feeling that people get everywhere else. Maybe they get it at certain places, but it doesn't have the spiritual element necessarily. And that's what's the essence of life. So we have a couple of announcements because we like to make sure that we hear what's going on and what services are available. And we'll start with the Bhakti community, and Pavani Bhakti will tell us what we've won.
Hare Krishna, thank you everyone. Bhakti community, as you know, is an online community of spiritual seekers, and it's a very personal community. We like to welcome people, we want to be with them on their journey. So we are requesting you all that whenever you give books, especially today when you are all going, please remember that you can connect the newcomers to the Bhakti community. And we have a website called www.bhakticommunity.com. You can quickly register your newcomers, and then we can connect with them after you have done so. We have Mantra Zone online it's an in-person program. Today we have Mantra Zone hosted by Yashoda Kripa Prabhu in San Jose. In case you have newcomers who would like to have in-person association, please connect to Vicky and she can guide you on how to register for the program tonight. Few things I want to say. I had a script for last week and we couldn't do the announcement, but I am remembering some of it. I want to thank personally Krishna Sakha Prabhu and his wife Kamalakshi Radha Mataji. Just 1 week, in 1 week they called 1 million people on Bhakti community and our Zoom room was spaced out. That much commitment they have and that much love they have and that much trust they have on the community. But why I'm bringing this point today is, Krishna Saka Prabhu told me, Mataji, I'm giving you 1 million devotees. Can you give me 500,000 volunteers who will take care of these newcomers? And it was a good challenge and good problem to have. So I'm really encouraging all of you, if you feel inspired to handhold somebody the same way somebody else handholded you and brought you to this point today, if you can handhold somebody and you feel inspired by that service, please reach out to me personally and I would connect you. And just in that spirit, I want to introduce Lijay, who signed up for this service recently. And I want to see how her experience was when she did that service, because everything we do is just for ourselves. We're not doing anything for anybody else. Please.
Hare Krishna, everyone. So recently I had the experience to help to onboard 2 new devotees, Ren and her friend Julia, who were here earlier for our Srimad Bhagavatam class. They had to leave a little bit earlier, but they really surprised me and impressed me, because last Sunday was their first time to come to the temple. And so I asked them, they said that they live nearby, but they don't see a lot of people look like them. So they have been wondering, but just have never had the courage to walk in. But eventually last Sunday, they joined our Sunday feast program, and they were really impressed. So I invited them to come to Monday, the Bhakti community class, and also Thursday, and also Friday, and also this morning. So after they step into the temple for the first time, just in the past week, they have been participating 4 times. And it's really amazing. I think Pavani also mentioned before, it's a little bit you can reach out, you will be surprised how much bandwidth and capacity people can have. And I also want to give a shout out to a few devotees who helped me to do this service during this process. Krishna Prabhu and Pavani Maharaj, and also Vicky, and also Chuck. They all helped to ask during the process how she's doing, and I think they all want to serve, but they let me serve in this case, which is a blessing for me. So thank you, everyone.
Sadhu, sadhu. And now we have announcements from our Sankirtan co-leader, Malini Devi Dasi.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. It was such a wonderful experience to see so many devotees today at the temple. And whoever we meet outside, we are inviting them here. And we see a lot of new people coming, people going to Bhakti community. It's really satisfying to see that experience. We have a goal of distributing at least 250 Chaitanya Charitamrita sets by Gaur Purnima. We just revised the goal last week because it was just 108. But devotees were saying it's too less, so we just thought we'll just increase it to 250 only. And it is not very difficult to distribute a Chaitanya Charitamrita, because how much is it for?
$99.
$99 only. It's not even 100. And I want to share a few things from last week. We were just wondering, how do we distribute Chaitanya Charitamrita? We were just meditating. How do we do it? How do we do it? And we met one person who was just coming out of his car. He had a nice car. I don't remember what it was. But he got down and he said that, I told them about, this is a book about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Do you know Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? And he said, yes, I know. And it was very difficult to believe because everybody says yes, but they don't know. He said, no, I am from Navadvip. I was born in Navadvip. His parents were born in Navadvip, but then they left to Bombay because that's where they are living. And I showed them Chaitanya Charitamrita, and he said that all through my life, I have been listening to Chaitanya Charitamrita because that's how people from Navadvip do. and I showed him the English translation of Bengali to English. He was very happy because his children don't know how to speak Bengali because they were in Bombay and everything like that. So he immediately took the entire set of Chaitanya Charitamrita. He gave $150 donation, even though we said 99. But there's no minimum, at the same time there's no maximum, so they can give more if they like. And while we were talking to other people at the table, somebody came from behind, and then he just tapped me and he said, "What are you doing here?" And then we told these are the books on Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srimad Bhagavatam. And he said, "I'm from Bengal. I know Chaitanya Mahaprabhu." So it was so nice to see a lot of Bengalis coming to the table and asking, what is this about? And he also took an entire set of Chaitanya Charitamrita, and he also wanted a Bhagavad Gita book as well, so that he can teach it to his son. So I asked, "Do you just take it?" He said, "No, I love to read." And I asked him to read a few shlokas in Bengali. It was so nice. He was reading from the Bengali script. It was so beautiful, the way he was chanting Chaitanya Charitamrita. So all we have to do is just pray to Mahaprabhu, saying, how are we going to do it? How are we going to do it? And only by the mercy of Mahaprabhu, he sends all the people to the table, and we can distribute a few Chaitanya Charitamritas like that. So please take at least 10 with you, wherever you're going, and distribute them to one and all. And I also wanted to mention that last week, Kautukarna Prabhu, I don't see him here. Oh, he's not here. Okay. Toronto Temple, where they set a goal of distributing at least 51 Chaitanya Charitamritas. So, and they asked, can you share something about distributing Chaitanya Charitamrita? And Kautukarna Prabhu gave a brilliant presentation. And he gave it on how to distribute Chaitanya Charitamrita to a Western audience as well as to Indians. And he called Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as a golden monk. It was really sweet. And we asked if that can be given again. So next Saturday, after the kids' presentation that we have here, we'd like to have a presentation given by Kautukarna Prabhu and few others as well to distribute a Chaitanya Charitamrita. So if you're new, you don't know what to say, and you would like to share Chaitanya Charitamrita, you can come next Saturday around 9:45 a.m. We will have that presentation. So it's just like a refresher. I know you're all experts on distributing Chaitanya Charitamritas, but it's just a refresher and to give us some more confidence in presenting Chaitanya Charitamrita. That's all, Prabhu. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Any spots today?
Sorry, Prabhu. There are a lot of spots today. There are Indian stores, 3 spots, one in Cupertino, one in Milpitas, one in Fremont. And there is one team, this is Tri-Valley team. Today they are going door to door. Rasamrita Sesha Prabhu and Harikatha Mataji are leading that team in Tri-Valley. We heard that that is a really good spot for Tri-Valley. So all the devotees in Tri-Valley, please join them. They're doing from 11 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. So that's one spot. And for Western Sankirtan team, only one spot? Oh, okay, okay. There is one spot which is Mountain View downtown. And last week, just in 1.5 to 2 hours, they did $800 from that Mountain View downtown spot. So,
Haribo!
Please do join them. Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much, Malini. Other announcements? Sheshwari Leela, you have an announcement? Please.
I just want to say that there's a weather alert, severe rain and storms and wind today afternoon onwards from 6 p.m. all the way until Monday morning. So please drive safely.
Drive safely and keep in mind that we do bigger when it rains than at any other time. So if you want to go out, it's a good time. But be very careful driving because Californians can't handle a little water. We're not used to it here. Kennedy?
Hare Krishna. I just want to thank everyone who came out to Bhakti Farms last weekend. It was wonderful to have you out with the cows. One of the biggest things of feedback that we got was you need more cows. So if you'd like to support that, please come to the farm, see what we've got going on. If you want to make a donation or if you want to know about future farm days, go to bhaktifarms108@gmail.com. Any donation you make is shastrically approved, akarmic, and tax deductible. So let me know if you have any questions, and I will be happy to share videos of cows with you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Today's prasadam was cooked by Hansa Priya Mataji, Bala Prabhu, Malai Prabhu, Tejas, and Shastra Saraprada.
And as a final note, be happy to know that on Sunday we had a meeting with department heads from all across ISV. It fills a small hall full of people, just the leaders of the different departments. And we're engaged in strategic planning for each one of the departments this year to develop them. There's plenty of room for seva here, that's for sure. So I wanted you to know that there's a lot going on right now for developing various projects, not the least of which is the school, which is coming up quite quickly and will be down in Campbell area, most likely. Will be a full-scale school with devotee teachers and academic, competitive academically, but with a heart and stress-free. And if you're already in college, you want to start over again, you can go to the school. There are other projects afoot. We're actively working to develop the wherewithal to upgrade whatever infrastructure we need for the projects. We're mission-driven here, so it's not that we're just looking to make bigger spaces, but we're looking to make bigger programs and then out of necessity fill those by finding the infrastructure that we need. So that's something to keep on your radar. I just had a meeting last night with Mayapur Vihari looking at what's necessary. He's going to be reaching out to develop the team in which to develop the war chest we'll need for getting bigger spaces. So you won't unlimitedly have to put more of these sheds on the parking lot. That's also happening in 2024. Along with so many other things, it would take the rest of the day to describe. Needless to say, there's lots of service for everybody, so if you feel under-engaged, please avail yourself to any of the services we have going on here. Dear Srila Prabhupada, dear Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shri Shri Panchatattva, Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan, Shri Shri Lakshmi Nrsingadev, if you so desire, please empower us to create a family-like atmosphere where everyone feels welcome, where everyone opens their social circles to invite new people in so they feel at home, heart to heart. Not just physically, but mentally and also emotionally. Thank you for considering our request. Om Tat Sat. Everyone agrees with this prayer, in whole or in part. Please unmute and say Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Shari dat vijaja jodendriya tahika vive pele vishaya Krishna Borugoya Moy Kori Bari Divajay Shah Prasad Anna Dilo Bahai Shayana Vita Pao Radha Krishna Gunagao Preme Gako Shri Chaitanya Dihitai Preme Gako Sri Chaitanya Gita Ma Prasade Govinde Nama Brahmani Vaishnave Sappa Punya Patangajan Vika Sonai Vijayate Prasade Sarva Dukana Maniyasyo Vijayate Prasana Cheta Sayashi Paya Vasistate Kayopa Kukta Sankanda Vasulankar Chauchitaha Uchita Bhojino Dasa Dhamamaya Srimad Bhagavatam Sri Mahaprasada Ki Goda Premanande Nitai Goda Hari Bo Hari Bo Hari Bo Nitai Goda Hari Bo. Do we have prasadam? Prasadam for everybody. Call your friends, bring them down, and we'll feed the whole county, the whole Bay Area. Today, prasadam will be served
inside, Prabhu.
here only.
Yes.
Is it raining?
Yes, it's cold outside, so everybody can just sit
Just
here.
pretend you're from Toronto. It's not cold. No, just kidding. Okay, we're taking inside. Where are you serving?
People can sit in the lines, and we'll bring the prasadam.
This is, what are we, in
style.
Mayapur or something? If you're going to get served by Govindacharan, I'd sit down fast.